Yo, yo, what is up, everybody? Mara, how are you?
Hi everybody. How are you guys?
How's it going?
Great, 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 great. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about the deal that Alejandro, I call him Alex, but he goes by Alejandro too. Um, to let you guys know about that deal that we closed last week. And it was really, really awesome. So just let me know when you guys want to get started on it.
First, we can start off by like explaining what curative title is because I think it's a buzzword. I can give so just transparently, I've done one. Tyler's done like two, maybe three tops. So we're not experts, but we know enough to be dangerous and can do a deal. But Alex, I would say, is the standing expert in the community on it. But basically, what that means, and Mar, you can add to this or tell me if I'm just wrong. So. Curative title just means a detailed breakdown and research process of title. And there are different ways that you can either take over a deed, take over the rights of a property, or get a property through the actual probate process or just the inheritance process in general. And oftentimes, curative deals are messy title or properties that are really like no standing, like clear heir or will or probate process or anything's in place. And oftentimes it's just in this limbo effect. And you will typically see tax sales, delinquency in taxes, foreclosures, vacancy, like code violations, things that happen because this property is in a limbo state. And people can come in and they can take ownership of that property either in a partial way or by negotiating with all of the potential heirs. And you would have an attorney, typically a part of this process. And one less, well, not everyone on this call should do that, or everyone who's watching this call should get an attorney, especially for your first few. I think you could do it without, it just depends. But you would have an attorney go in and basically say, yep, these are probably all the potential heirs. And you would negotiate and deep prospect every one of those people to find their contact information, reach out to them and basically say, hey, there's this property, you're associated with it in X or Y way. And from that process, you basically offer them a potential like upfront lump sum or a potential like split of the profits on the back end, very similar to a novation. And a novation is also, if you guys don't know what that is, it is taking ownership, well, not ownership, it's taking power of attorney over a property where you then can come in, you can like renovate the home and then sell it. You can just straight up gain power of attorney and list it on the seller's behalf. So it's kind of a combination of several advanced strategies in general. And once you take over the ownership of that property or that potential heir role, you get them all to sell or sell to, sign the contract, and then close the deal. The other part, that's where the really big spreads come from that people hear about, is maybe only, one of three people actually want to sell. So you could come in, get that one person to basically give the rights to you, and then you can sue for the home to actually forcibly be sold because the other two don't want to, and it depends on like the state that you're in. Those are kind of all the different ways that this works. Mara, did I miss anything from that?
No, it's fantastic. It's perfect. And the last one that you mentioned, it's called partition laws here in Florida. It favors it, so it's really good. So just check with your locals, with your state and see about the partition laws. But that's what that's called. And there's a lot of money to be made in those deals, um, because some of the heirs just they're like no, or I don't want to sell, or this or that, and you gain a higher percentage. But it's a long process. It's not just understand that those deals are not going to be like 30 days or 20 days or, like what we all love when it comes to wholesaling. Wholesaling is like we're in, we're out, boom, everybody gets their money, gets the deal, and we're off to the next one. So, um,
And from my experience, they're typically 6 to 12 month cycles
yeah.
because you're basically having to take someone to either court on the partition aspect of this, and you gain control over the your portion of the deed, and then you take it to court, force a sale. Sale takes place. It's a longer cycle. So from my understanding, what Alex did is he did not start there. He had a very strong real estate business, wholesaling, flipping, the whole nine. and then started doing these deals iteratively, like a couple here and there, and then has fully transferred over to exclusively doing that, but it's not a starting point for people. And just to kind of like disclaim this a little bit, so the ones that we did, they were like 15K buyouts. So like these are, upfront, like 15K cash, not really like a private lending, hard money lending type of deal. So you need the cash flow from the business to be able to really like sustain and take over the portion of the deeds. The beauty though is if you get like 5 or 10 of them where you have the controlling interest or like are forcing the sale of them, they're kind of like tax liens where like they're going to yield a lot of money down the road for you theoretically is a good way to think about it. Now, the reason that we're having this call is Mara had a really, really good deal. And one of the things that's kind of slept on in the community is like JV deals and working with people in the community. And one of the things that recently just happened in the 5 Day Deal Flow Challenge group, and I think in the big community too, is we had two users that ended up splitting a data manager part-time where they do 20 hours on one business and they do 20 hours on another business just to keep costs low. And like sometimes a data manager isn't a full-time role. So there's just a lot of ways that you can do things with all the people in the community. So just keep that stuff in mind. And this is what Mara did with Alex. And
Yeah. Yeah, so I met Alex here in SIFT, one of the biweekly calls, and he was talking about just what he was doing and how he finds these airs like out of thin air, and he searches high and low. And I have a lot, I've been in the business for 6 years, and so I've accumulated a lot of those deals that Ty's talking about. Those deals that it's like we know, and I'm only in my backyard, so my husband is the one who spearheads like the driving for dollars, the door knocking, looking, the eyeballs is what I say, on these properties. And we're like, we know it's vacant, has tall grass, it's abandoned, we've looked, we've banged the door, we've done everything, sometimes broken into them. Don't tell anybody. But, you know,
we'll edit that out.
but, we know for a fact this house is abandoned, right? It's not, oh, it's vacant, the seller's over here or the owner's over here or there. No, something is wrong. Either the seller is no longer with us or they're in jail. Something happened. They're sequestered. I don't know. Okay. So we start the hunt and we cannot find them. That's not my strong point. Well, until I took the 5 day data challenge. I just didn't, I was searching truepeoplesearch.com and all of these little regular websites to see where Googling, to see where these people were. But I would find the obituary, whatever it is, but then I was just lost. So this deal here that we found it 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, this was a duplex zoned. So it had what I thought it had two doors, and I thought it was a block home. And here in Florida, block homes, two doors, duplex. Oh my God, I don't care what it looks like inside. I know this is money. So I did find out that the owner did pass. So that I knew. And then his wife passed, right? So I found some family, but it was just dead end, dead end, dead end. And then Alex joins this call this year. No, sorry, it was late last year. And I'm like, dude, you have to help me. I'm like, I have this one. If you can do this, I will send you 30. We're working on 30 right now. Okay, that I picked up in SIFT alone, like just from the data from there.
This property came from Driving for Dollars, from First to Market, from like Sift or anything like that, or
So it originally came to me through Driving for Dollars. So that's
okay,
where
got it,
driving.
got it, got it.
So now we know because my husband knows you better not bring me I want it dilapidated. I want it really bad. At this point, 6 years in, in the beginning, we used to be like, oh, it looks ugly. No, I want it like something is really like, no.
Yep.
Okay. That is how we do our driving for dollars now. It needs to, in order for me to say, yeah, this one gets approved and it gets going down the conveyor belt, if you will, it needs to look like dog crap.
Which one? I'm just trying to like add on to what you're saying. So, if those who don't know, we treat first to market doing the niche sequential flow. So it's the same thing as any first to market record. So some people have bird doggers or people that like literally will go in and just dedicate all their time to driving for dollars, and they send all that into SIFT and treat it basically like a foreclosure, a probate, any of that. And for those who don't know, just to make sure we're on the same page, that would be record comes in. We want to send mail directly out if we can. Obviously, in this case, it's abandoned, so don't do that. But it would be a full attempt on a call, voicemail, and a text, 3 days in a row, calling through all the phone numbers that came through on skip tracing. And some people in this case, like I do my foreclosures this way, but you could also do this for the driving for dollars side, where you immediately deep prospect a abandoned property, a very high potential deal right off the rip. And I'll show you guys an example of what that looks like in a minute. Go
Yes.
ahead. Sorry.
So there was no mortgage, so it would not go into, let's say, my pre-foreclosure FTM, first to market.
Yep.
At this point, I took my first to market challenge, which again, if you guys, I don't get paid by saying this, but I'm just telling you, if you haven't taken the first to market challenge, please, I beg you to do that because then your brain will start, going crazy in a good way, and you start literally getting in front of these type of people that you need to focus on as opposed to bulk. I have always done bulk, 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 everything, right? But then I started hitting major brick walls, if you will. So now I only do niche and driving for dollars only because we're in our backyard. We take advantage of it. And my husband, we're full time into our wholesaling business. So I hate to say it, he only works one day a week, if that, and he's in the other room, so let's not talk too loud.
No,
But
okay.
job with it. But the point is, like, since it's his full time, he can totally go out there and spend the day. It's not a big deal for him. We are blessed to have that as our other first to market, so to speak, because we get our eyeballs on these houses. So anyway, so that's how that started. And then that property got into my first to market with tax delinquent. He was behind 3 years. So somebody was paying this, but then something happened and then somebody stopped paying it. We thought that it was the wife maybe paying for it. We didn't know. Okay. So now that we know that the property is, well, we thought it was abandoned. There is a squatter in there. So we thought it was abandoned. I'll tell you, gosh, this took us through a lot, but we made it and we made money, so I'm happy. Um, so anyway, so we couldn't find the heirs. We couldn't find the heirs. We were, reaching out to every single person that we can think of. And then Alex came into the picture in November of 2025, I'm gonna say. And I said, if you can do this, if you can find me the heirs, we obviously we're gonna JV at 50-50, split every penny. And then I'm going to open up the doors and give you the rest of the ones that I cannot find, high and low. I couldn't find it. So
Yep.
I can't speak on Alex on what the heck he did, but he came back and the heirs were in the United Kingdom, UK.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is already a crazy one.
I could not believe that he found them. And it was two sons. The two sons did not, they still live in in the UK. Actually, we're really friends now on WhatsApp. Um, we get on a Zoom call. I never really get on Zoom calls with sellers, but I tell you guys, get on Zoom calls with your sellers. I'm telling you, yeah, that really brings in a lot of credibility. They feel like, wow, you're real. It's not just a phone call. It's not just, um,
So the initial outreach, you guys got the phone numbers, which makes sense why you guys couldn't find them very easily because they were in the UK. I'll show you guys some different examples of this, but once you did that, did you just WhatsApp them because you realized they were in the UK, I'm guessing?
Yes, so Alex spearhead that, and it was so amazing to have. This is why I tell you guys, like, if you don't have a big team and you don't want, like what Ty was saying, sometimes you don't want to hire all of these big people. I'm always about profit first, in my business because I don't want to like overextend myself, and then now it's like, yeah, cool, we'll make 50,000, but I'm coming home with only five. Like, that's not going to work for me. I want to come home with 48, you know? Like honestly, like literally, we run lean and mean, and that's how we hit numbers that we hit because I do not hire anybody. So I will rather JV with you on these deals. And sure, I'm giving, 50% of my profit, but I don't care. It's worth every penny. So I don't see it like a loss, if you will, if I had maybe an acquisition or somebody, but Alex was fantastic on the phone with these guys. Um,
So on like the sales process, did it go something like, "Hey, there's this property. What was the first heir that you reached out to? Was it a sibling? Was it a cousin? Like, what does the heir map look like? Do you know?"
you mean for this file
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, originally, I could not reach, anybody, but then we got the boys on the phone and we instantly, so Alex coordinated with them and they said, listen, I have my partner Mara. She is the one who's local, so he was totally honest. Like he's like, I'm in Texas, but it is my expertise, and we were so excited to meet you and bring this to you. And they were like, holy crap, they didn't even know that their father died. Okay. They didn't
I see.
even know that their father died because what happened was their father left them behind. They're adults, but they,
Okay.
over, came to the United States and kind of like bye to you guys. So they were a little bit like touchy, about it. And so we had to walk on eggshells with them as well.
So, father probably divorced, I'm guessing. So had kids, father came from the UK, moved to the US, established a life there. They were the next heirs. Obviously, they didn't set up probate in this process because they don't live here, so they didn't probably even know what that is. And then from there, you guys offered you a portion of each of them, or like a 3K buyout or something. Like,
Yes. So originally we were going to do that, what Alex's expertise. I told him, I said, I feel like we should just wholesale this. I have my buyers already. They want it. We just have to clear title here. So I personally did not want to spend the money out, whatever. And the guys, and by the way, I'm one that I do work with my attorney really closely. And I said, the last thing I want to do is pay out these guys and then we still don't have clear title because this guy had married some lady over here and I didn't know if she had any children or not. So we were still kind of a little bit on a hurdle here. So it wasn't so clear and clean as we thought. Hey, we can give you guys, we gave them, I think it was like $3,500 each.
okay, so how many people did you guys buy out of this?
Five.
Okay, so just to summarize for everyone, I know people are jumping into. So, curative title deal. Dad
Mhm.
passes away, probably a divorce. They had children there, and there were five children in the United Kingdom. They all came from the
No,
UK.
there's only two that we had to pay out the wife's brothers. That's
Okay.
later. That comes later.
Okay. Sorry. Two sons, three brothers, or three
Yes.
siblings, probably a better way to say it. And whole family is in the United Kingdom. Dad moves to the US for some reason, gets a home, passes away. Home is abandoned. We come in and we offer a set amount for each of these five heirs, which are the two children, three siblings.
Mhm.
Continue on.
Yes. So the
Your wife.
siblings come from this. I know the siblings come from his second wife. So now they're really pissed because my
Yep.
attorney said, "Hey, in the state of Florida, he died married to this lady. So it goes to her, but now she's dead. So now they didn't have any children together. She didn't have any children of her own. So now it goes to her brothers, her siblings. So we were like, wait a second, what? Like this is under, it wasn't even under that wife's name or anything, but my attorney said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to break laws. Like this is the way it goes. Right. So
Yep.
I'm really, really angry about this. But now Alex and I have to pay more money because we thought we were going to be in this deal for like 15,000 bucks, and now this is coming out to be like a little bit more. So yeah, so now the brothers of the lady didn't even know that she was married, and now they're money hungry, so to speak. I mean, I'm just saying, you got money coming out of the thin air, but now they're turning crazy, and they're like, they would not sign the contract. So that's really what dragged it all along. And I said, I don't want to pay anybody crap until we know that this is going to close because I'm
Got
not
it.
of losing money. So you see where I was kind of holding Alex and saying, no, I'm not paying these guys out the normal way. And him and I talked about it after we closed and we said, shit, we should have probably just paid them out and be done. But we were dragging this all along all the way through because we were just like, is this going to close or not? Because the guys would not sign. So they finally signed. So now we have five signatures. We have all the heirs, and we're rocking and rolling. And then I still don't have access to the property yet because then I go and I find out that the squatter built a little shed behind. So
Okay.
squatter there, and he was like, no, this house was left to me by the guy Robert, and whatever. He's like, hell no, I won't go. You have to, I will come out of here, blazing, whatever. And we were like, he was like, I will
So,
literally, yeah.
run us through the numbers on so ARV, what like the total amount that was needing to be paid off. So like, was there a mortgage, the tax amounts, any rough numbers, nice round clean numbers is fine.
Okay. So we originally thought that this house, the ARV was going to be like 200, and we
Yep.
were all in at 23,000.
Oh wow. Okay, so mortgage was free and clear. This was tax delinquency.
It
Okay.
was just tax. So we were all in, sorry, we were all in to the heirs 23, and
Yep.
then there was like $6,000 of back owed taxes. And then we also, another thing that we like to do and going forward, I'm doing, and I know Alex does this all the time, is that we say, hey, we're going to pay the attorney, we're paying the probate, we're paying this. You're going to net this. Don't worry about anything else. You just sit back, kick back, and wait until closing day to get your money, and you're done. That's how
Okay.
we make it seem where before people will say, oh, you have to pay for probate, you have to do it's like too much. People are going to freak out. So I always recommend now in 2026, after I've learned this with Alex, is like give them that number and say, this is what you're going to do. You kick back, you're going to wait until we get cleared to close and your money's there. Or Alex does this and say, I'm going to pay you tomorrow $10,000 and you're done, right? Like that's the best way, but you're playing with fire. I'll be honest with you because you don't know 100%
So
title.
in the very, very beginning, when I was talking about the most common strategies that you hear about, like the crazy bonker 200K, 300K rips, an example of how this could have been that was there were five heirs in total. Let's just say for nice round numbers, like 10K in delinquency about in taxes because it was a 3-year amount. So mortgage is free and clear, 10K in back taxes, home's worth like 200K. You would come in. There are five heirs that basically have to either all agree, so we can like have the sale in total, which was the case here. In a lot of cases, though, there would be like one of these five people maybe want to sell, or maybe even three of the five, or like at least one individual. You would buy out that person, so they offered 3,500 for each of them, each of the heirs. So you would go in and say, okay, one of the sons wants to sell because there are, two sons and there are three siblings from the second marriage. I know a lot going on. I'll write all this out and then I'll post it in the community after. And from there, you would go to one of the kids or one of these people and say, "We'll give you 3,500 bucks in cash right now. More than likely, this deal is probably not going to close, but if it were to fall through, you at least are guaranteed this amount." So you give them that 3,500 in cash, and now you are one of basically the potential heirs, where you would go in and it would be a partition deed, I believe is the technical term of this, and you would go in and go to the courts and basically say, I want to sell this property. These people don't. You would have a court case in place. The home is now forced to be sold, and you get the you know portion of equity of the home that you would have had, which would have been 20% in this case because there are five heirs. That would be one side of this, and that's probably the most advanced way to do what she is talking about. What they did though is they had all five people actually agree to this entire process, which is going to be harder to do, but obviously it's a lot cleaner that way. And they offered 3,500 per person, which is five people. and 3,500 times 5 is 17,500. So 17,500 in guaranteed payouts to the actual heirs, 10K in back taxes, which is 27,500. We'll round up to 30K, and then that 30K all in with a 200K ARV. This is the math behind why curative title deals can be insane because otherwise this deal will probably not get done. And well, actually, sorry, there are fees with the attorney fees in this case. What were those roughly?
So it was about almost 6,000, and that was only because then we had to evict the 10, well, the squatters.
Sorry, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, so we could not get access because now we have this guy who's threatening our lives and my attorney's life too. And so another thing too, what we really enjoyed is with our attorney, she kind of took the reins on everything because she was selected as the PR, right? The personal representative for the property, for the estate, for the
Okay,
estate.
so that's a big deal. So basically, probate is triggered and navigated by this attorney with these five heirs, and they elected her to be the PR to make it clean.
Yes. And that's when we really shot up to the sky because now she legally can make decisions. She legally can agree. She legally can do all of this. And now we no longer legally need to get signatures from the heirs. We don't need to do any of that. Everything goes through the attorney, and the attorney is my attorney. And we've been working for a very long time. And again, I say this, but of course she's following the laws. Okay, she's not going to break any laws for me or anybody. Okay, no matter what. I want to make that clear. But regardless, it was really nice to work with my attorney because now she is spearheading this whole thing. So she had to then unfortunately get where her attorney hat back on again to do the eviction. So she was dealing with the courts, she was dealing with the sheriff, she was dealing with all of the people we were paying, of course, but we got everything right. So finally we get access to the property in March. Okay. Early
Okay.
we closed as soon as I got access to the property, 5 days later, Alex and I got paid. So,
Okay.
boom,
When so two follow-ups to that. Do you know when the record hit your system hit the SIFT, basically?
2024.
Okay. And then you obviously this was a exhausted record, meaning there's no way to reach them. Everything had been tried. When did you guys do the deep prospecting flow? There was a question in the chat. I'll cover that on like how they got the numbers and stuff in a sec. When did you do that part roughly?
Deep prospecting because I have my SIF line board, which now after again I go back to my 5 day challenge. Like literally, I spent guys after the 5 day challenge that I took earlier this month. I think it was. I spent like a whole entire weekend. It was grueling for me, but it had to be done. My SIFT account now is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Okay. Because I cleaned up everything. But before, what I was doing was I would bring in those exhausted that were abandoned, ugly, abandoned, right? Exhausted. They were going into my MG, Mara Garcia. So MG investigating. Okay, on SIF line board because I use my SIF line board, guys, mostly for leads,
You
and they go down a conveyor belt that way.
you open to sharing that? You don't have to.
Yeah, I can share it. I can
Just
share it.
like the org structure is fine.
Yeah, yeah, I can share that. So let me just clear up some of my stuff.
You can
So
put the sensitive
yeah,
stuff.
that's what I'm gonna do now. Uh-huh. So okay. So all right, I'm gonna share my screen really quick.
Hmm.
I'm sending request.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So, for example, guys, like now, so my team and I, like, we're hanging out right here. and I learned this. You're going to ask me, how did you do it? What did you do? Literally, step by step is in the 5 day challenge. But also, I think you can go around it. I would do the 5 day challenge if I were you. But um, Kylie, there's a niche sequel. Just look for that niche sequel and bulk sequel. And like she literally walks you through it. Right. So I have all of my stuff really nicely organized. This is like a virtual conveyor belt down the stream here. So I have now my deep prospecting over here, where before I would have it here. Um, here. So, like for example, okay, so I have 18 and then now they're moving to here because now I found some people. So this is going to be cleaned up eventually, but right now, because like I told you guys, I literally changed everything just this month, okay? And I've been with SIF since 2023, so bear with me on this one, but for me, like my conveyor belt, it goes like new lead, they haven't responded. Now they're on a drip, just so you know. My son does door knocking to pre-foreclosure slash auction. Like we're literally banging on your door. Okay. And then, yeah. And then like I have some leads here, some of my VAs, whatever. I do some handwritten letters. Again, these are like some people that like I know, like this is a family member. So now I'm going to be really, really descriptive on my letter to you. So,
Yep.
yep. And then, like I said, so my MG investigating, these are people that I'm like, where the hell are they? Like, who are they? Where are they? Whatever. So, to be honest, they could still be in this list in my niche in my deep prospecting, they could still be over here somewhere, right? But I still want to keep them closely to me. So that's why I still put them on my board because, again, sometimes you just forget, like we're not perfect, you know what I mean? And we're running around all over the place. So I still keep them in front of me. So now Alex has like a long list of people that he needs to go find, and we're going to JV at 50-50, right? If he finds them, I get the buyers, he's getting the sellers, so to speak, now, so that's now it's still my deal, so to speak, right? Because it's mine, right? But now he kind of wears the hat of the seller. I'm always 100% guys, direct to seller. All of my deals, almost 400 deals so far of houses, it's me, my company, when I say me, my company, direct to seller, 100%. But in this case, because that's not my strength, I rather pay someone with my 50% um, assignment fee or whatever we're going to do. We're going to go 50-50 with it. So so yeah, so that's how I have my stuff organized. And this is how, with a tooth comb, even though I'm in a very competitive market where some of my competition is inside of SIF and they're 7 figure earners too, right? Like we are neck to neck. And maybe like one or two we bump into each other, not really. But they still run a bigger team than I do. So I'm still with a tooth comb, okay, by the grace of God of SIFT, keeping me really, really organized. My SIF line board is specifically for leads. However, I got a little bit messy here with regards to these two columns, and also my son's door knocking. So this column and these two columns are not pre-qualified, but I want to keep them close to me, guys, because this is worth like maybe, I mean, could be 7 figures, honestly, if I could get these deals, because a lot of them are 100% equity. Right. So what's going to happen is like we're going to have to pay for back owed taxes, most likely, maybe some code violations. Right. But those two bills are not a lot, guys. Like they're really not, like under 10 grand, and then like
But
right now. Oh, go ahead.
this is I know someone's thinking this on curative title deals or anything that you're going to do pretty heavy deep prospecting. I would say minimum equity is like 50%. If you're doing curative stuff like you're buying out heirs and stuff, 70% minimum on equity. So if the home is worth 100K, they need at least 70K in equity because you're just taking a lot of risks, and then like things like squatters being in the home or the attorney fees or deals taking a long time, like all that good stuff. You want it to be like worth the capital that you're putting into it. So just as a brief thing there.
Yes. Sorry, I want to blur my whole thing. Um, so again, like this is literally like I'm working on one right now, crossing my fingers. Okay, I'm like refreshing my page. I don't know if there's other wholesalers that do this. We refresh our page once they open up the DocuSign. We're like, come on, just press go, just press finish. So she's about to sign. She's getting $5,000. Again, we are doing the impossible. So again, that one I'm still working on. So please pray for me. February, no, April 23rd is auction day. um, Mother died, father died, son died. So now all of the only family members have died. And I just found out that the son who died had a baby mama, okay, girlfriend. They weren't together, whatever. It was like a one night stand, is what I understand from it, because you're also saying too. So I've been talking to the family to who I thought was the heirs. I got my attorney involved. She's like, nope, it's the girlfriend's child. So I'm giving her $5,000. And that one I'm potentially making like 20,000 for it. But again, guess where it was? Right here. So now it went here and now it went to sent contract, right? So I'm like, you have to sign. Like, let's go so that way we can get you this money, right? So that money's coming out of thin air. So I called her and I'm like, hey, you want this money? And she's like, yeah, I need it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's sign. Let's get this going. My attorney, I'm paying for the close, I'm paying for everything. The attorney fees, all of it, and now we're hoping this one is a mortgage involved. So we're hoping that the bank will pause the auction just to give enough time for probate. But that's another story. Hopefully by the end of the month, I'll come back and tell you guys about that crazy one. So,
Go ahead. Sorry.
so what I have learned here in SIFT, and especially with the deep diving, is that honestly, guys, you don't need 100 records. You just need only like 30 of them. And like you could literally make so much money. Um, by just focusing on this. And I think that's where Alex shines. I'm speaking on his behalf, but we had conversations about this. Like, that is how he is literally like a freaking sniper in Texas in the most competitive freaking market. Texas is really, really competitive, guys. And he's going in like a freaking sniper. And some of them he's doing assignments, but 90% of them he's closing on them. But like Ty said, Alex is gonna be like, "What the hell? How do you know how much money I have?" But I know he has a lot of money, so he's literally saying, "Here's 5,000, here's 10,000, here's 3,000. Get out of here, give me everything, right?" And then he's taking over. Um, so for him, it's working really amazing. I'm still a little chicken baby when it comes to this because I'm like, I don't want to lose money. So I don't know. Check in with me in 6 months. I probably will be telling you something different.
I also think he's joining the call like right now. I just submitted him in from the waiting room. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, so maybe he can shine some light.
You guys are gonna get lucky when the boss, hey boss, when the big boss comes in.
Uh, Alex, not to put you on the spot, but I did my absolute best to explain everything A to Z on how it works. But I would love, well, basically, we explained the whole deal and how it got all the way up into the eviction process and how you guys did it. And did you deep prospect traditionally, or how did you guys find the actual deal itself? Or sorry, the heirs of themselves.
Just doing research. Sorry, I'm late, by the way.
No, you're good, man. I
Just
hope your
playing at
class is
a
good.
dumpster fire. Last day of the month, everyone's blowing me up left and right. Well, the buyer needs to fund the deal and all that. So I'm going back and forth.
You're good, dude.
But yeah, deep prospect. So I do a lot of research, right? I try to go deep. I forewarn people,
Yep.
ancestry, right? So I think that's where I started with finding the heirs. So the guys from the UK, we found some.
It,
I think we found some like marriage records or something like that on Ancestry. And
Okay.
so from there, started looking into it. I think I had seen one birth certificate, or not a birth certificate, but like a birth record in Ancestry. And so that's how I found one of the sons. And then from there, that led me to finding the other son, if I'm not mistaken. Or let me
So
see.
yeah, Ancestry has a like global plan. So that's what I was trying to show because there are some questions about this, but typically most people don't need their full kind of like plan. And everything that he's talking about, I'm gonna run you guys through on like how to deep prospect, but that is kind of a caveat because I don't actually have that breakdown of the global plan. But keep going while I'm trying to
Yeah,
find
so
this.
I just found it. I'm actually opening up the record on my account just to see how exactly I found it. So let's see. Oh, you know what? This is how I got it. So I got the obituary for Robert Shires, and I always like to look at the comments because that'll give you some intel. And so, the guy passed away, saw his obituary. There's nothing, it just says his death date and then where the funeral home is. The comment that I saw is Craig Shires, miss you, Dad. So I'm like, oh shoot, he's got a son. So I get on Ancestry. I'm looking for Craig Shire. So how I do it in Ancestry is there's a way where you could do that search. I wonder if I could share my screen.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I could
I'd love
I
to.
could give you guys some little tips on how I went about it. Let's see.
You, you're in the 5 day, right? I'll show the deep prospecting Claude Flow too.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So I'm sharing my screen. Alrighty, can you see this Ancestry?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, we
cool.
see a Google Drive.
Oh, that's weird. Maybe I shared the wrong thing. Let me unshare so I could share the right thing. Oh, there you go. It's reversed. How about now?
Yep.
Got it.
All right, cool. So Robert Shires, this is the guy that owned the property. Just go down here. There's only one entry right here, miss you dad. So I'm like, all right, well, who's Craig Shires? It must be his son. They got the same name. So one way I like to go about it is you could do this, go to birth. I mean, this is like a quick search option, but instead I like to go here to birth, marriage, and death. It allows you to put the parents' information. And so I think I just went Craig Shires and then father, Robert Shires. And I'm not going to narrow it down because I don't know where Craig's from. I'm just going to assume that's how I found it. Okay, yeah, here it is. So England, right? So I think it was this one right here, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's this Craig Shire. So I clicked on this guy and I just started looking up his birth dates. I started going into forewarn. Turns out he's not in the US, so I couldn't find any phone numbers for him. But I kind of started matching the birth dates and how old he would be. And I think I just ended up, this one was actually fairly simple. I think I just Googled the guy, Craig Shires in, where is he from? Yorkshire, Yorkshire, England. And I think this is him. Yeah, this is him. Just found him on LinkedIn. And so reached out to him, sent him a friend request. He's the first guy I get to add me on LinkedIn and actually respond to my message. So I reached out to him in LinkedIn and within like a day or two, we were on a WhatsApp call. Uh, and so he got his brother on the phone. He told me about it. Um, and that was pretty much it. I think it was a fairly simple one. Just got him on LinkedIn, reached out to him on Facebook as well. And then from there, I think on LinkedIn, he sent me his email. So I emailed him and then we just got on a WhatsApp call. And yeah, we just let him know what we could do. So the deal structure there was I got him under contract for buying out his interest. And then Mara connected us with a good probate attorney out in Florida. They this was actually pretty cool because this is my first Florida deal. But in Texas, usually we do a bunch of affidavit of airships. In Florida, what I liked about it was I didn't have to upfront any capital. The only thing we invested really was the photographers, right? The photographer was like $200. I think we had to pay the probate attorney just to get started. I think, a couple $100 if I'm not mistaken. And so it really wasn't that much out of pocket. And so we didn't have to pay anything upfront. We basically were able to get it all closed through the probate attorney. And another thing that I thought was really cool was the probate attorney was appointed the PR, which I thought that was pretty neat. So In Texas, I haven't done that before. Usually we try to get someone appointed as a administrator. But the PR, her being the PR made it super easy because we didn't have to deal with there was like some stepbrothers that were involved as well. So they kind of made it a little difficult. If they had to sign at closing, that was one of my concerns where I'm like, oh, these guys are gonna, second guess it, or they're gonna pocket watch, they're gonna see what we're making on the hood. Um, and so, her just being the PR that made it super easy. And, you know, once we got them on the contract, we didn't even have to reach back out to them. So that was pretty cool.
Amazing, man. I um I was also explaining like I would love your perspective on there's kind of two sides. The case that you guys had where everything went nice, smooth, super easy, and then I explained there are cases where you actually like buy out portions of the ownership and then force a sale, etc. If you could give your take on like that breakdown, that would be amazing because you've done a lot more of these than I have.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. At least in Texas, I haven't done it in Florida yet, but in Texas, yeah, we buy out interest individually. We just have to make sure that we're getting it low enough because we do have to account for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is we have to partition this. That could get, excuse me, that could get super expensive, where you're spending over $15,000 just to partition this, and you're not going to get 100% of the property. You're only going to get what you were able to buy. So let's just say you only got 10% of the interest. You got to allocate for the worst case scenario where you do have to pay to partition the property, right? Partition sell. And so, if I'm going to get only 10% of this property, I want to make sure that I get it for a very low dollar amount, right? Where I'm willing to lose that money. But oftentimes, I mean, if someone's really disconnected with it, I mean, you can go after the heirs, right? A lot of the times people are not um, down to fight it unless you underwrite. And, these guys are multimillionaires, which we don't really see that often in these type of deals. So most of the times they'll work with you. So I have a deal right now that I have like $10,000 invested into legal fees. Um, but I have a good chunk of the interest. I think I got like 60% already. And so I think, my total investment for the 60%, I think to buy out the 60% was like $4,000. So I got $4,000 plus, 10,000 in attorney fees, but I think we'd sell this property for, like 120. So I still have a good amount of spread. Even if worst case scenario, I only capitalize on my 60%.
So one of the things I brought up too was so I think minimum equity 50%, but probably 70% equity plus is kind of that what I've found. Do you underwrite it like that or how do you handle that kind of stuff on equity before you even
Um,
like the sunk costs of like going through this whole process was the point, I would say.
mhm. Yeah. Uh, I keep it super simple. I'll kind of share you guys. I'll share something with you guys. Oh, let me see.
Yeah, I'm overthinking
Let me
it.
share my screen
Hey,
again.
you've said enough.
Yeah. Yeah, my bad. And maybe I should be a little better about this. But one thing is, in one of my goals of before I do a deal is there has to be at least $25,000 in estimated spread per heir. So like if there's five heirs, I'm not going to do a deal if it has less than $125,000 in spread. So that allows me to not buy a deal that doesn't have enough equity, right? And I'm fighting for pennies. So I think that gives me enough margin to play with where I've been able to be successful. But basically, the way I do it, um, this is how I run my numbers. Super simple. So tax balance, estimate, tax assessed value, RPR. On this one, I think I just put these two in variables. And then, can you see my screen, by the way? This calculator?
Oh, no, yeah, it's perfect.
And I actually just reduced this to 70%. So I know that's not always accurate. And then, so basically what's doing is the outputs is estimated equity. So it gets the average of these three variables, RPR's estimate and tax assessed value. And then I do the 70% of this average minus the taxes and other liens. So that's my estimated equity. So in this deal, if there's more than two heirs, for one, I'm not doing it. But then I also like to see right here on my outputs, max profit if I bought this at zero is basically the estimated equity, right? So if I want to make, I'm always trying to go for the cream, right? So in this case, the most I can make is $57,000. Well, I'm gonna try to get as close to that, right? So 50,000 on this one. If there's more spread, like let's just say there's $300,000 in spread, maybe I'm going for 250,000 in gold profit, right? So at that point, I have $50,000 to play with, and so that's kind of how I decide how I'm gonna offer these people. So in this case, I want to make $50,000 on it. Let's just say there's two errors. My max allowable offer for 100% is 7,000. So I'll just slash it. Usually, I'll try to start a little bit lower. So I'm not gonna go for that max allowable offer right away. So in this case, 7,000 divided by two, I'm offering max 3,500 per air. In this case, if there's like a two air situation. But usually I'll start with like a 20% offer on the actual MAO. So in this
Nice.
case, multiply by 20%. I'm starting off at like a $700 offer. And you get some people that will take it, right? So that's the one thing I always just try to see how low I could get the deal and see if I can make a good amount of profit, right? Of course, if there's multiple heirs, if it gets really messy, there's a lot of risk, like adverse possession claims, squatters, stuff like that. I can't see what the house looks like inside. Um, then yeah, I'm really gonna try to get as close to 100% of the MA or the max profit. So that's basically how I've been underwriting my deals. It's not super,
No,
advanced.
it's amazing. I'm telling you, people will charge would charge $5,000 for what you guys got on this call for a curative title course. So I appreciate you sharing all that.
No, for
Uh,
sure.
I know there are, if you've never seen this before, the deep prospecting flow is basically what and Mara were kind of referring to. So the way I do this, this is what I cover in the challenge, but this is I'll put this link inside of the Facebook community with the actual Zoom recording if you guys are ever going to find it, and I'll also put it in the meeting notes. But um, Alec, I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if either of you knew this, but this is a crazy stat. Tax sale records are big for me. So in Knox County, Tennessee, and from that, depending on like the cohort of the quarter, because I get it on a quarterly basis on my tax sale, 22 to 38% of the list was a deceased owner, which is crazy. So like obviously what we're talking about here is heavily focused on people that basically are behind. They're going to some type of like foreclosure auction or tax sale auction. In my market, it's treated as the same. And you want to find records that are deceased, and then you want to find the heirs of those people. You want to get the contact information of them, and then basically take them through the whole process that they basically have outlined in this call. And I do this. You can do this manually with VAs. You can do it, manually yourself, depending where you're at. I use something called Claude. If you guys don't know what Claude is a kind of like AI tool, and it has a bunch of automations where you can like automatically run through a deep prospecting process where it actually like logs in on your behalf. So the reason I was bringing up Ancestry in the next cohort, we have started to embed this. So if you came in and said, "Hey, please run the deep prospecting skill for this property that I have here," this is a real deal that I did. So it was like, this is the address. It turns the skill on. It does a bunch of different research and like, okay, here are the potential errors, very similar to their process. And then it comes back with this really, really clean report. So like in this case for us, how it went down is I'll show you guys this is like the output of this, and this probably takes about 20 minutes of the kind of AI flow, like working through it. And the really big kicker here is it gives you, I know it's kind of hard to see, I'll zoom in for you guys. It actually comes back with a air map. And that's how you know who these decision makers actually are. And it references like obituary data and ancestry.com. It references like deed chain so that you're kind of going through that whole process, and also checks the delinquent amounts or any amounts inside my recorder that would have like a consideration, if you will. So in this case, it was a foreclosure, and it was a divorce, husband remarried. The husband passes away. The ex has passed away, and the new wife also passed away. And the children from the first marriage, in this case, was the actual decision makers, very similar to their deal. And there were also some siblings, two of which were deceased, and two were also kind of like in limbo. We found out they were not needed. So these three people were the ones that were the decision makers, and this is the eldest and the one that we actually did the outreach to. So this is just an example of how all this is strung together. And what he was also referring to was a company called Forewarn. Forewarn is a skip tracing provider that you must be a real estate agent or have a license to, and it's also free if you are an agent. And it is by far one of the best skip tracing providers. So you take these people and you look them up on either been verified or on Forewarn, and then you do that kind of outreach process that they're referring to. And that is what deep prospecting is, because I know there were some questions early on about that. And I'll post all these resources in the community right after, so you guys all have them. Any questions for any of us? I know this is a lot. Oh, let me double check the chat. I think we're good.
Ah.
Anything that we want to add? Oh, wait, sorry. I didn't, Daniel, you can just unmute and ask if there's a
Yeah.
question.
I just hate when people like just fucking blow up a Zoom though. Uh,
No, dude, me too.
I was just curious. I'm just kind of getting started. Are you guys ever available? Like, I don't want to, eat up all of your guys' time. You guys are running businesses. But if I run into some questions, I already work in real estate, so I'm not like coming in completely blind with the most novice questions under the sun. They're usually kind of like more high level, like, oh my gosh, I'm at a dead end. I think I've exhausted everything. What should I do now? Are you guys open to me reaching out with questions?
To protect their time slightly, post it in the community, and then we'll all go come through and answer questions there. But if you guys are open to it, they can also message you, but just to protect them a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're always available and stuff like that, but like I always tell anyone and everyone that joins, especially with DataSift, especially where we're going and where we're heading with the merge with DataFlick, and now obviously we're DataSift now, and Ty. I thought I really loved Tyler. Tyler, I love you, but Ty, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like honestly, you guys have to join. The 5 day data challenge. I've been in business for 6 years and I'm still like learning and always a student and there's always something new, right? Get yourself, JV, right? Because I always tell people like we're all very busy, but we're all on commission here, so we only get paid when we're closing deals. Most of us. So it's like with Alex, I respect his time. So I'm like, hey, let's do this together. And we're splitting it down to the penny, everything, right? Because again, his time is very valuable and my time too. So it's like, hey, I have this deal. You think you can work it? You find the heirs. I'm going to get the buyers and boom, we're going to close this, right? Like the minute we got clear to close in 5 days, we both had our money in our hands. So like, I'm not here to play games, and the same thing with Alex. Like if he can get it done, he's going to do it. If he can't, he's going to tell you I can't find it, but it's going to be hard. Like if he can't find it, then I don't know if anybody can, but I tell you, like that's to be honest, Daniel, like if you have a deal and you have something, reach out to us, like or reach out to somebody else, right? Like and let's JV it, because a lot of people do try to reach out and I'm like, I'm sorry, like I can't spend 10 hours with like 20 different people, right? Because I'm running a business and I'm a very small business. It's just me and my husband and my son, and we're
Mhm.
spearheading this whole thing. But yeah, like I'm totally down. I also pour in a lot into our community. I'm constantly responding and constantly putting like all of my little sneak tricks and tips and whatever that I learn along the way. Like I'll be like, do this, do this, do this, do this, and I share it in the community.
Okay, amazing. Well then, yeah, I maybe that's what I'll do. I have a deal. It's probably worth 750, 800,000 total. I cannot find the guy. IDI skipped him. REI skipped him. I've called everybody, all of his family, all of his friends. I can't find the guy. But what's kind of funny is I can see that the guy tried to sell this. It's right on a lake, like a premier, very wealthy lake here in the Midwest. And he tried to Fizbo sell it in like 2020, and he puts right in his listing, willing to sell 50 per my 50% interest. I'm like, this is this
It's a
is
good one.
just this is exactly what I'm looking for. fully paid off. He's behind taxes, $45,000. The county, yeah, it's just it's a sexy deal. But I'll reach out to you guys maybe after this, so I'm not eating up all the call time.
Alex is the person to, to find these type of people, and especially like those are the ones that are really needy. So his team, they are amazing. Like I said, I can't take the credit for it because if it wasn't for him, 2 years we were fine, looking for these people, and then I meet Alex and he gets it done. As you can see, in like 2 seconds, he found the people. It's not always like that, but like, he was able to really get in. And help. And he's really awesome. His company is amazing.
Okay, amazing.
I appreciate
Josh.
that, Mara. I put my information as well in the Facebook or I'm sorry, in the chat. So you just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. Sorry,
Okay,
Josh.
beautiful.
I'll mention him in the follow-up post too. Josh, good.
I had a quick, what's going on? What's up? I had a quick question. And I think it's unique because I know Alex, you made the transition too, but open floor question. So recently I just hired a data manager literally yesterday. They're starting in a week. And I'm very confident in my systems as far as when it comes to bulk marketing. Like you see on Amara's board, how she has the sequences built out. But I know the power of first to market data, and I know the power that it compounds once you do it on a consistent basis and really taking deep dives. I wanted to get your guys' opinion on because in Q3 this year, I want at least half my business to come from that because of the net margins, so much more simpler, way less noise. But actually getting to that point, I wanted to ask you guys, should I have my data manager focus on the systems I have in place with me pulling the bulk data, get him used to that, and then work in the FTM, or just get him started on FTM right away? So I'm just kind of curious on your guys' take on that.
If I were you, I would do FTM all the way. Look,
Okay.
cool, bulk is cool, but I tell you, FTM, and especially like what I was saying, like and Ty was saying, and I know Alex would say the same, like especially the ones that have passed, unfortunately, like those are the low-hanging fruits that I think Josh was talking about. Josh Wagner.
Mm,
Okay, remember he was saying he was like, I just recently pivoted myself. I'm only dealing with the low hanging fruit. Who's the low hanging fruit? The ones we can't find, the exhausted list, right? The exhausted
mm,
vacant, maybe even vacant mailing. Those are the ones that we need to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And if you're wholesaling in your backyard, maybe you get somebody to go over there, and if it looks like dog crap too, it's
mm.
like, holy moly, you're gonna have like maybe 30 of those. But I'll tell you, with those 30, you could hit seven figures really easily, right, Alex? I mean, how many of those you have? Like, it can't be like you have like 10,000 of those, Alex. Like there it can't be.
Yeah, no, it's just that's all we're hitting is FTM. But I do pull bulk like once a year just because I like to be like a data hog. But yeah, for the most part, my VAs are spending time on the FTM. So I'll get like the bulk list of the tax delinquent records, and then I will usually stack it with like code violations, vacant lists, and then also like if you skip trace the those records. Usually I'll skip trace records that have like less or more than 2 years delinquent, and then from there that whenever I pull out the data, like from the skip tracer, it'll give me deceased tags. So now I just kind of filter out all the deceased tag records, and that's kind of
Mm.
where my VAs start. So they're just looking through all those that have the deceased tags, and so that's my workflow.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Have your data managers just do that. Like literally just do that. And you're gonna be like a kid in a can. You're gonna be like Toys R Us.
I I will say we don't me or Tyler don't flex like the numbers a lot. If you guys haven't noticed, but like Tyler does like 10 to 15 deals a month just off first to market.
Damn.
So anyone who says it doesn't work, silly. But
So,
yeah,
Ty, can I ask you something? Because Ty was going to be like, I knew she was going to ask for something. But can we somehow, some way, because I do a lot of the skip tracing in your inside of Dataset. And by the way, like the numbers are really good for the most part. They're not 100%, but I've tested all of them out and they kind of all are the same. But I do wish that we can start recognizing like what Alex gets, the list of the deceased.
Yeah, so if you guys have not heard about this yet, in April we have obituary data coming to the expert plan, which is a big deal for us. Um, it so the way it's going to work is we're replacing the pre-probate tag inside of the SIFMAP, and from there, it will have an obituary filing within like 3 probably to 5 days of it actually happening. It's being processed and then pumped straight into the system. So we will, because eventually what we're trying to do is automate that deep prospecting AI workflow inside of product. And this is kind of the first stage of like having really strong deceased data, basically the way Ancestry does.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
So that's already like that's literally should bring everybody like an extra $300,000 this year.
It's the
Um,
best list, in my opinion.
that's gonna be freaking gold.
Any other questions, guys? We got to be respectful of everyone's time. Okay. Give me till the end of the day, and then I'll post this, and then I will throw in some of those resources and links that we were talking about, and then I'll mention Mara and Alex's names inside of the group, and you guys can just reach out to them if you guys have any deals like this or all that. But thanks so much, everyone. I appreciate it.